I never thought I'd be writing this, but it's the only way I can process what happened. Betrayal, humiliation, and revenge. It all collided in a way I never imagined. This is my story. My name is Zayan. I had been married to my wife, Nadia, for 8 years. On the outside, we looked like a perfect couple. Stable jobs, a beautiful home, shared friends, and plans for the future. I loved her deeply and trusted her completely. Everything changed when I began noticing subtle signs. She started spending more time on her phone, making excuses for late nights, and suddenly dressing differently when she knew she would see certain people. At first, I brushed it off, thinking I was being paranoid, but then the feeling in my gut refused to go away. I decided to investigate quietly. I didn't want confrontation yet. I needed proof. I set up a small camera in our house while I was at work. It wasn't invasive. I just wanted to see if my suspicions were real. Within a few days, my worst fears were confirmed. Nadia was seeing someone else. My own wife, the woman I had trusted completely, was having an affair. I watched her embrace him, kiss him, laugh at things she never laughed about with me. My heart shattered, but I didn't act impulsively. I knew that acting out of anger in the moment wouldn't bring closure or justice. I had to plan carefully. I compiled all the evidence, videos from the camera, screenshots of her messages, and records showing that she had been hiding money and communication with this man. I organized everything meticulously. I knew exactly what I would do, and I would make sure it was undeniable. Once I had everything, I created DVDs containing the footage and evidence. I didn't send them to random people. I sent them strategically, her closest friends, her family, and people whose opinions mattered most to her. The reactions were immediate. Her family was shocked, devastated, and heartbroken. Friends were silent, confused, and betrayed. The woman who had manipulated everyone around her now faced the full consequences of her lies. When Nadia discovered what I had done, she was furious, pleading, and apologetic. She tried to justify her actions, claiming she was unhappy and needed excitement. But it was too late. The trust was gone. The relationships she had counted on were fractured. I filed for divorce immediately. I ensured that I protected my assets and legal rights. In court, the evidence I had collected made everything clear. There was no room for denial, manipulation, or excuses. Nadia lost custody of certain assets, and her social reputation was irreparably damaged. After the divorce, I disappeared from her life completely. No contact, no confrontation, no explanation. I moved to another city, changed my routines, and focused on rebuilding my life. The silence became my final act of control. Months later, I learned that Nadia was struggling. Friends had distanced themselves. Family relationships were strained, and the man she had been seeing had disappeared from her life. The freedom she had sought came at an unbearable cost. For me, the emotional journey was difficult but healing. I grieved the marriage I thought I had, the trust that was broken, and the betrayal that cut deeper than I had imagined. But I also realized something vital. When someone betrays you, taking control of your own life and protecting your dignity is the most powerful response. I exposed my wife's affair and sent DVDs to the people who mattered most to her. It wasn't about revenge in the traditional sense. It was about truth, justice, and closure. And when I vanished from her life, it was the final statement. Betrayal has consequences, and loyalty cannot be taken for granted. The lesson I learned is brutal but clear. Trust is fragile, and once broken, the consequences extend beyond the two people involved. Actions have weight, and when someone violates that trust, the repercussions can be life-altering. Nadia's affair destroyed her relationships, her reputation, and her security. For me, the exposure was painful but necessary. It allowed me to reclaim my life, my dignity, and my peace of mind. Sometimes the most devastating revenge isn't about anger or destruction. It's about exposing the truth and letting the consequences speak for themselves. And in that silence, I finally found closure. I caught my wife cheating, exposed her to the people she cared about, and walked away. And in that act, I found a kind of justice that words or confrontation could never achieve.